welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty Nefaro, produced out of Indie Music TV in Long Island. And as usual, at the board is the young icon, becoming an icon. Matty Ice. Matty, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. A bit tired, but, you know.
What are you so tired about?
Well, I started a full-time position, so I am now working 9 to 5. Waking up at 7 a.m. It's a bit rough, but honestly, it's not as rough as I thought it'd be.
What, is Mike stopping by to wake you up? He's up at 3.
Well, you're a working man. Now you've become a working stiff. Life has now begun, Matthew.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
Exactly.
I do feel a little bad for you,
rough.
dude.
That sucks. I mean, good luck.
Thanks. But, you know,
Good
it's
luck.
not that bad.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
obviously we
Who's
lost
that?
Betty White
Yeah.
recently, and Betty White's official cause of death revealed. The actress known for her roles in The Golden Girls, The Proposal, and more popular shows passed away at the age of 99 at her home in Los Angeles, California on December 31st. According to a death certificate obtained by E! News, White died from a stroke.
Okay. I thought she was just
She suffered the stroke 6 days before she died. The medical incident happens when part of the brain experienced a loss of blood, in case people didn't know what a stroke was.
Hey.
And according to the National Library of Science, which says it can cause lasting brain damage, long-term disability, or even death. But the big news was people were wondering if the vaccine may have caused this issue, Jimmy.
Oh, I'm not touching that. We can't talk about Corona. You know the rules.
We do know the rules.
You know the rules.
Well, you could say...
I'm
What are
saying-
you laughing
I'm
about,
saying,
Matt?
Yeah, what's so funny back there, Matt? You didn't get in trouble. We did. Look at Matt. He's still smiling. He thinks it's funny. I don't blame him. It is kind of funny.
Stingers 10, welcome, Maria Davis. Always good to see you. And by the way, happy birthday to your mother, Maria Davis's
Oh,
mother.
happy birthday, Mrs. Davis.
I believe, and Maria, please correct me if I'm wrong, she's 91 years old.
Wow. That's an A on the report card.
Chris Lee back in the house. We haven't seen him in a long time. Chris,
Hi,
I hope
Mike.
all is well.
What's going on?
ESO Creative, one of our sponsors, also in the house. Welcome, sir. Glad to have you. He's now making the Tuesdays with Tony Atlas t-shirt. In case people didn't know, Tony Atlas has a show on our network every Tuesday at 1 hour, and it's nothing but pure gold.
Yeah, love it.
Really?
It's lovely.
You're full of action. If anyone didn't know it, that is to the right. It's
What the
Mr.
fuck?
Jimmy Farrow.
Look at
Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
I want a cigarette. That's how I am. I want a cigarette. You were like, no, we got to go on the air in a minute. And
Exactly.
it took 3 minutes, and I smoked these in 2. So I could have had one.
You're
I'm
like a
very
man
grumpy.
child. You are like a man child.
I'm a man. I ain't no
How
child.
many
son.
cigarettes can you
know,
smoke?
what?
Just don't smoke a cigarette for an hour.
What
It's
are you
not going to
talking
kill
about?
you.
What are you talking about?
You guys, you should have saw
Okay,
him.
I tell you what.
He was like, I got to
I
have
tell
a
you
cigarette.
what. I'll close this, and you stay off your computer for an hour. No problem.
Well,
right?
then I can't.
Yeah, watch
then
you
I can't,
break into cold
I can't
sweat.
speak to our wonderful fans out there.
Oh no, well don't. Do that.
Davio, welcome, my friend. Good to
Davio,
see you.
what's up?
And we're opening up the 2022 with one of our favorite people, Mr. Gary Michael Cappetta, who we'll
Yeah.
speak to shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gary, he's our Bob Backlund of ring announcers.
He is our
Did you ever
Bob
think
Backlund.
about that? That's the truth.
He is. He
Yeah.
is. He is a legend.
He is our old school favorite. Favorite.
Did you just call Gary old?
Old school, I said, not old. Ay.
802 Stingers, thank you for the membership, my friend. You guys are such loyal
Yes.
followers,
Yes, sir.
or
Yes, sir.
not followers, like partners of our show. We want to
They're
thank you.
friends that hang out with us every week.
I would like to thank the band that sings the theme song for Monty and Farrow, and Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner Bart Griggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page. Hit the like and subscribe button, everybody. Are you subscribing to your own page?
Do I subscribe to my own page?
Yes.
Am I supposed to subscribe
I
to
would
my
think
own
so.
page? You got to support yourself.
So I'm asking, are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Just
so.
want to
I
make
have
sure.
go back and check the
You
clip.
can download their music on Spotify,
Oh, by the way,
iTunes, Reverb Nation.
I
and-
almost forgot.
Go ahead.
Bartman! Go ahead.
There you go.
Go ahead. Well, I figured you
And
were going to call me out for
Apple
it.
Music,
What's wrong with
maybe.
the Pharaoh? He didn't do
Maybe.
Bartman.
If you don't know it, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty Nefaro, filmed every Thursday from 9 to 10 p.m. You can catch us live on the Monty Nefaro YouTube page, the Monty Nefaro Facebook Live page. Hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. Catch us on the Monty Nefaro's Twitch TV page. And if you're lucky enough to live in New York, catch us on Channel 115 every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. or Saturday up against Saturday Night Live at 11:30 p.m. and Channel 20 on Tuesdays at 1 a.m. for you night dwellers. We want to again thank the New York fans who are presently holding us at about 80,000 views per week, and we are nothing but humbled for that. And most recently, we've partnered up with Amazon Music. So if you hate us, it's all bad news. It's a bad time for you. And if you love us, it's all good. But we'll be right back with this legend, icon, and he's just an overall good guy.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
I'm not sure I believe in his wrestling views anymore, but we'll have to discuss that. Yeah.
What are you talking? We'll get to that in a minute, folks. We'll be right back. Don't you start with him. And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack. The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah. Jeff Quest, graphics design, custom vinyl lettering, and all your art and video needs. 516-317-8204. That's for Jeff Quest, graphic design.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty Nefaro, only seen here out of Indie Music TV out of Long Island, New York, where we welcome wrestling legend Gary Michael Cappetta. Gary, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, doing really fine. You can't say COVID, but you can say fucking wine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to America, Gary. That's the way it works, right?
That's number one.
Do you know that we had...
Listen to your intro.
What's that?
Number two, yeah, I am old, and I'm proud of it. I'm still announcing.
Yeah, okay.
And number three, Pharaoh, you want to go head-to-head here about my taste in wrestling?
That wasn't me. That was him.
It was Gary. It was all him.
Wait a second. Oh, no, I'm being set up. Gary. I'm being set up.
I'm sitting here. I'm watching it.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, though. He's probably going to go after you on your opinion on wrestling. Go ahead, Mike. Serve it up.
Well,
put me to the test.
First of all, I want to do a temperature check, Gary. We haven't spoken in a while.
That's a little personal, don't you think?
Well, I don't want to do it that way.
Oh, okay.
But anyway.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so it's Gary in the house, baby. The Gary fans are out there by the millions.
Absolutely.
How are you feeling, Gary? How are you handling everything that's going on in this country right now? What are the thoughts of the great Gary Michael Cappetta?
I'm doing great. Staying healthy, as healthy as possible. Not taking too many risks, but I do get out still to see my indie wrestling. Because I'm a big proponent of independent wrestling and supporting the indies. That's really important to me. And about what's going on in the country, let's not even go there because we'll just alienate half of the audience. So I really don't get into
He's
that.
Still
publicly.
Switzerland. He's still Switzerland.
Well, listen, I totally understand.
I don't blame him. He's smart.
He's not just smart. He's like, he's got a huge fan base, and I'm sure that he doesn't want any kind of political opinions to.
Right.
But the one thing that Gary, as much as I love him, is his taste in wrestling has gone down the shitter.
Wow.
Because
This is rough.
He certainly,
Ring the bell, Gary.
as
Ring
I
the
hear
bell.
Gary's opinions, I see that he's very pro AEW, and Gary, I got to understand, what are you doing, brother?
Everything evolves. Everything changes. Am I happy with all the different changes? No. but am I still a wrestling fan? Yeah. I mean, there's good and bad in every product that you could that you view. So I prefer, instead of going away, to stay in the mix and to speak from an old school perspective, and maybe somebody will listen. How's that?
Gary, are you able to, I know you don't exactly have the warm fuzzy in your tum-tum feelings for Vince McMahon, but are you able to at least look at today's WWE product and see some good at what's going on? Because, we're watching a Roman Reigns storyline that's developed for over a year. You got Brock Lesnar back. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns together are magic. You got the Paul Heyman factor. It's a great storyline. Are you able to separate your personal feelings with, your past dealings with the McMahon situation and enjoy some of what Vince puts on the air today? Or is it strictly screw Vince?
Let me tell you the secret about watching Raw.
Okay.
Watch the first half hour, watch the last half hour, and you're good.
Might have a point.
Well, it's episodic. It's episodic television, and they make sure that you get the flow of what they're doing every week, right?
Everything in between, they just keep on running you around, and you've seen the match or some kind of like with the same people over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And after a while, it just gets insulting.
Is that more like a reference to the 50-50 booking, perhaps, that we like, which probably occurs in those hours you're speaking of?
I don't know who does who does the booking, who's in charge of any of that. I love the Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar story. I think it's fascinating, and that's enough to keep my interest. But once again, first half hour, last half hour of Raw.
Okay, so you gave a little caption of the thoughts of a WWE program. So now I ask you this: is if I'm going to watch AEW, what do I do when I watch an AEW program?
AEW is very different in the sense that when you watch a WWE show, it's like time stands still. It's like, really? We're only 20 minutes into this program? We're only 40 minutes into this program? AEW, to me, it flies by, but it's very frenetic. Like, I don't understand all the time how they get from this point to that point to the other point. And I can't remember what happened 2 months ago. So something will happen 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden it will be important next week. And it's like but the show, the good part of the show, those elements that are good are terrific. I mean, Bryan Danielson and CM Punk and Max, there's a lot of good there. I like Daniel Garcia. I like Hook, of the younger guys.
My money is on you. If you wrestle Hook, my money is on you. By the way, I just wanted to let you know that Hook is probably about as big as your leg. And Gary, how do you feel about the smaller wrestlers? For God's sakes, Gary, when you were announcing back in the day, you were introducing Hulks like Hulk Hogan or George the Animal Steel, huge man, scary man, Killer Khan, huge, scary, Sergeant Slaughter. Now we have Hook. Does it mean I'm old-fashioned to say you got to be a little bit bigger than me if I'm watching? I mean, any thoughts to the smaller athlete today?
Yeah, it's not necessarily old-fashioned. It's just a matter of what you like and what you don't like. Yeah, I mean, there was no doubt that years ago when you would walk through an airport and there were wrestlers coming at you, walking the other way, you knew this was an athlete, this was, this guy was an entertainer, he was a wrestler, but, it's changed. Look at it another way, and you can say, well, more people are getting opportunities that didn't have them before. Look at boxing or UFC, where there are different weight classes. So they have smaller guys that compete. Maybe that'll make you feel better.
But how about when a Sugar Ray Leonard crosses over and holds Mike Tyson's title. I'm having a hard time with that. Shouldn't there be a more definitive, designation? When you're a heavyweight, you're a heavyweight. Does the world title even count as a heavyweight championship anymore with some of the guys that have been holding it?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But who is a heavyweight champion now that is a midget?
Well, thankfully, right now, Vince McMahon is Vince is always pretty much, for the most part, stuck with bigger guys. But you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
We've seen smaller guys. We've seen a Kofi Kingston hold the world title. We've seen guys that are much smaller holding the world title.
Yeah, and it has happened in the past. I mean, it's your David and Goliath story. It's getting behind the underdog and rooting for the underdog, with the theory that anyone can be beaten on any particular day. You can make an argument for it. I agree with you in the sense that when I see a heavyweight championship match, I want to see heavyweights. Mm-hmm. I get it. I want to see a Brock Lesnar. I want to see a Roman Reigns. But so what is your alternative? Is your alternative just to go away, not watch it anymore?
No, of course not. Of course not. But I would appreciate, and if you're going to announce somebody, could you at least, if they do weigh 161, could you tell me that they're 195, please? Because I might believe that anyway, if you understand what I'm saying. Well, look, back in the day, we didn't know exactly how much the guys weighed that you were announcing, and I have a feeling some of those weights weren't accurate. But if they looked like they could be that, then it was believable to me. Now they're announcing guys now weigh 161 Jungle Boy, right, Mike?
Sure.
So
unless we were doing again WCW, unless we were doing a televised broadcast where they were going to have on the screen what the weight is, usually I would just make them up.
You would make
in
really?
Did you really?
Really?
In WWF, sure. Just,
wow. Did anybody get mad at you? Did anybody ever get mad at you? What do you mean I weigh 300? What are you saying? I'm fat, Gary? I mean, did it ever happen when you were making up these weights?
No.
Oh,
no.
Man.
And there's certain. This is going to sound real crazy, but there are certain numbers that I would rather announce that I could boom better.
Gotcha.
And so I would use those numbers more.
I actually get that. Excellent. No, that makes sense.
So Gary, also recently, again, you were around for a long time, so you've probably seen this, and I want your opinion on this. The WWE releasing its wrestlers, again, social media is growing, so everybody finds out everything. What are your feelings about that? Do you agree with it? I mean, not that do you agree with it, but is this something that's always gone on, or is this just normal business in the industry?
No, when wrestling changed from the territory days to a few national companies, that's going to happen. Nobody who signs a contract signs for life. It's the entertainment business, and it's very flighty in that way. There are some individuals who are fortunate and who have had very long runs, but I don't like to see anybody lose their position. But the only alternative, and this seems to be what Tony Khan does, is to continue to pay talent and not use them, and then bring them back a few months later, and then it feels fresh again. But you have to freshen up your roster, or you're going to have, for the same reason that I only watch the first and last half hours of Raw. It's because I'm tired of seeing the same guys and girls against each other.
Gary, do you think that the presence of AEW now has somewhat possibly hurt the independent scene? We've seen Ring of Honor recently basically fold, and now they're saying they're going to reboot. We've seen TNA disappear to almost the point that you can't find them half the time if you want to see them. At one point, Ring of Honor, and you've been to Ring of Honor, of course, Ring of Honor was fantastic. And TNA was, on Spike TV, and they were getting decent ratings 10, 15 even or so years ago when they were in their, more of their heyday. I've noticed that since AEW came around, and I was afraid this would happen, do you see any damage being done to some of the lesser companies of reputation?
So you're talking about the national companies like Impact,
right? Or Ring of Honor?
You see, because for the indies, the guys that work for AEW can work the indies, and that's a good thing for the indies.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them talent that people will recognize from television.
Right. But some of the big names have been kind of plucked, though, if you know what I mean, from the indie scene, and wound up, being taken from Ring of Honor or TNA to come to an AEW or to go to New Japan. Any thoughts on AEW coming into prominence? It seems like there's been a drop off with those other companies.
No, it just forces the other companies to scout new talent and bring new talent up. It's always a good thing when talent, let's say from Ring of Honor or Impact or MLW, go to the next level. I mean, these guys are making more money. They're more recognized because of the platform that they have, the larger platform that they have. That's a good thing. So Ring of Honor, when I worked with Ring of Honor as a backstage interviewer back in the mid-2000s, had an incredible cast of characters.
Oh, yeah.
It was CM Punk. It was Samoa Joe.
Oh, yeah.
It was Bryan Danielson. Jay Lethal. The Briscoe brothers. Colt Cabana. I mean, it went on, but
some crop.
Eventually those guys went to the next level. And so what did Ring of Honor do? They recruited and scouted new guys, gave new guys opportunities. So no, I see that as a positive.
Very, very few people have the experience you've had in this business, and again, thank you for calling us. I have to ask you this: how do you feel about basically Vince McMahon is doing something very, very different right now with NXT? He's decided to go not the wrestler route. He's bringing in people who've never wrestled before. He's trying to create talent from scratch that have athletic backgrounds, but not necessarily a wrestling background. What's your take on that? Do you think he can pull that off?
I'll expand that. You asked me before about smaller wrestlers and your preference for larger wrestlers. My preference for wrestling that's on a national stage is expert wrestling, good wrestling, people that know what they're doing, not people that are still learning what they're doing. That's where I would take exception with some of the talent that's in both of those promotions. Some of the guys just aren't ready for prime time, and it just. But where do they go to learn? Where do they go to wrestle 3 or 4 times a week against wrestlers who are better than they are? Because that's the only way they're going to learn, not just wrestling other indie guys. So that's my concern with NXT, and in some cases with AEW. There's some guys there that are just, I look at them and I say, wow, that's real indie. And I just don't think some of them are ready for prime time.
Don't you think, though, in a lot of ways, this is the problem I have with AEW, right? Growing up on wrestling or loving wrestling, the storyline was more important than the actual wrestling in many cases. I mean, would it be fair for me to say to you, Gary, that today's athletes are better than the ones that wrestled back in the 70s and the 80s, and the wrestling really wasn't very high level, but the storyline and the characters were? Aren't you, as an AEW fan, aren't you in fear that them not building storylines and not really building the character, it's just going to be an epic fail at the end of the day?
Well, AEW has storylines. It's just very frenetic. It's very quick.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of time
right.
for most of what their stories are that they're telling, for them to evolve. Now that there are exceptions, there are exceptions to that, but I don't have the kind of brain or attention span to remember what happened several months ago and then it all just disappear and then they bring it up again 3 months later.
Right.
Like that is confusing to me. But there's an excitement with AEW that doesn't exist with WWE. There's a spontaneity to it. So there's a positive side to things. And they're very fan-friendly. So that's going to help them in keeping their loyal base and hopefully add to the base. I understand what you're saying, but it also helps, like when you say the guys are more athletic today, it also helps that they're a lot lighter, so they can do things that most of the heavyweights, wouldn't be able to do.
Well, we've seen the exception to the rule, though. I can think of Samoa Joe offhand, who does things that are someone his size shouldn't be able to do. And there's others. There's plenty of others.
Yeah, there are always exceptions through the through the years.
How about Keith Lee?
All right. Well, before we get any further with Gary, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back, ask some more questions. Then I got some fan questions for you, Gary. Oh. And again, we want to thank you for coming on. Yeah. You have always, and this is from the heart.
He's the original.
You are, well, he is the original gangster.
He's the original.
But you've always been so.
We do.
You've always been so good for this show. Even when we were nowhere and nobody, you took your fame.
Wait a minute, I'm somebody now? When did that happen?
Well, you're more than you were before.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Well, there you go.
All right.
All right, anyway, hey, Gary, I don't want to kiss your ass too much, but it is from the heart, though. You are one terrific guy. But anyway, we take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with the legend and, honestly, should be in the Hall of Fame, Gary
please.
Michael Cappetta.
Yeah, the best. See you in a sec.
Hey folks, this is Wolfie D here, and if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Tennessee or Southern Kentucky, you're going to want to call my buddy, the rock star realtor, Benji Bowie. And you say, Wolfie, how do I get in touch with this rock star? Well, you can call him directly at 615-390-8216. You can go to his website, BowieHomes.com. That's B-U-I-E Homes.com. Or you can email him at benbowie34@gmail.com. BENBUIE34@gmail.com. When you need a home, you need the Rockstar Realtor.
Tell him Wolfie sent you. Benji is a member of Exit Realty's Garden Gate team in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Hi, it's John from Under the Table Hot Sauce. I'm here with my friend, the star of the show, Jimmy Farrow.
Yeah, what's up, JB?
Nah, nothing.
It's been a hot summer, and for all your barbecue needs, you can go to UnderTheTableHotSauce.com. 13 unique flavors to choose from, created and bottled in a Long Island kitchen. UnderTheTableHotSauce.com. Let's go chow, JB.
Let's do it.
All the flavor, twice the burn.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast with Monty and Farrow, with special guest, future Hall of Famer. We love him, Gary Michael Cappetta. Gary, quick question from Dean Fletchman. This one's a tough one, man. I don't know how you're going to answer this, but Gary, what insights can you share about Spiros Arion, the person, maybe Bruno's top opponent in his second reign?
Wow. I'm going to disappoint him. I never had any personal interaction with Spiros. He was still wrestling for the WWF when I started announcing, but maybe months into it, maybe a year, and he was gone. So I didn't work that much with Spiros Arion. Boy, that goes way back. He was married to Miss Grease.
Oh.
Oh, was she hot?
She's Miss
Yeah.
Grace.
She was
she
hot,
wasn't
huh?
cold.
Well, listen,
I mean, was
there's
she
a difference
hot?
between Miss USA and
I'm half Greek. Don't you dare.
I'm not.
Miss
I wasn't
Greece?
going to say Greece, but I
Miss
mean
Greece.
Miss. I don't know.
Greece is super exotic. Miss
Well, anyway, I don't want.
Greece.
You know what? I'm going to play Switzerland here too, so I'm not going to
you
mention any
better.
other countries.
Ay.
What's
Gary-
what's sad about that is that I remember that.
Well, no. What's
why
good?
is that in my brain?
Yeah, why
But that's
is that in
good
your
stuff,
brain,
man.
Gary?
That's a guy that has his priorities right? Because I can't remember anything.
Yeah. Do you think he belongs in the
she
Hall
was
of
very
Fame?
attractive.
Gary, Spirios Arion, Hall of Fame? What do you think?
If he's not in now, he won't be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swept under the rug, probably. Gotcha.
Spiros Arion Hall of Fame? No, stop.
I'm
it.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's a certain guy in Queens who would say he should belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Congratulations.
Vinny doesn't look at that era of wrestler
Vinny?
as I think even like eligible to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Like that was his
You might have a point.
dad's promotion.
You might
That
have a
wasn't
point.
his promotion.
Oh,
I think
boy.
he makes a distinction.
Listen, we love Vinny over here. We call him Vinny. I feel weird calling him Vinny. Why do you hate Vince McMahon so much? You want to explain that to us?
I don't hate him.
Okay.
I saw him
Okay, fair enough.
a few years ago. Yeah, I saw
Did he
him.
see
at,
you? Because you know how
yeah.
Vince is. Okay.
I saw him at Bruno's funeral in Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you speak to him? I mean,
Did he
No.
say hello to you? No.
No,
Okay.
but I thought he, I thought he and Stephanie were there,
okay,
and I thought they were very respectful.
sure.
Stephanie got up and spoke in the church, and Vinny didn't draw attention to himself. No, I don't have any problem with that.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you this tough question.
and
Then,
and
right?
I don't hate him.
Okay.
Hate is
You don't.
like-
This is
it's a
but
four-letter word. I don't.
But
Okay.
here's a question
Dislike?
to you. Obviously, you knew Bruno, and Bruno's an icon to so many. But do you think that as Bruno got older and the wrestling started to change, Bruno became very sour grapish and just just couldn't handle the change and didn't like the fact that maybe Hulk Hogan was becoming more popular than him? I mean, what are your thoughts on that whole thing?
The wrestling was changed.
At first, at first he was, but then even Bruno adapted. Do you remember Bruno refereeing some matches in WCW?
Yes.
And then he agreed to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He adapted. He came around a little bit. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing, as I disagree with some of the things that are happening in wrestling today. And I can't blame the wrestlers for what they do that I don't agree with. I can't blame the referees for what they do or don't do that I don't agree with. And I can't blame the announcers. It all comes from the top. Whoever's signing the checks, that's the person that's crafting the show. And for instance, there are certain moves that certain wrestlers are known for. They're finishing moves. No one else should be doing those. Like back in the day when it was a big deal when Superfly Jimmy Snuka would mount the top turnbuckle and do the huge splash. No one else did that. But in today's environment, if a wrestler hears another wrestler's move get a big pop, then they steal it. They mimic it just for that quick response from the audience. There should be an adult in the room that says, no, you don't do that. Like, that is his finishing move. No one else should be doing. Otherwise, it's not special. So, for all that I disagree with, it all comes from the top. It all comes from the guy that's signing their paychecks. if he doesn't want something to happen, if he wants the referees, for instance, to start enforcing some rules, if he wants the tag teams to tag in and out by slapping hands and not chest or back or whatever, it'll happen.
So that's a great comment, but we're talking about the semantics of pro wrestling, which is entertainment. So I'm going to get a little more serious with you, because what you said really hit home with me, that it comes from the top. So we've had Lee Cole on this show about 2 times. We had John Arizzi on the show once. And the one thing we discussed was the Ring Boy scandal, which I'm assuming you were around for. Probably, I don't know if you knew how much about it, so I'm going to ask you, with the Ring Boy scandal, obviously Bruno, Superstar Graham, ex-wrestlers pointed the accusing finger at Vince McMahon for not doing anything about it. You just mentioned about people being on the top and being in charge. John Arizzi, Lee Cole, they both felt that Vince was responsible for this horrific issue that was going on. What does Gary Michael Cappetta think about the situation?
I would suspect, I don't know 100% for sure, but I would suspect that Vinny knew what was going on and just, ignored it, just turned away from it. And that is, that's on him. That's not forgivable. But the people that actually did the acts that preyed on the young ring crew, for instance, that's where the blame should go. But yeah, I would have to believe that he was aware of what was going on.
How about wrestling?
He definitely was aware of what was going on with the doctor and the drugs, happening in the locker room.
Right. Which, by the way, we will say at that point in time were legal until they became illegal, right? What about the wrestler's responsibility? Bruno goes on Donahue and says that he knew this was going on and Vince did nothing about it. Where's the culpability of those wrestlers? Superstar Graham, Bruno Sammartino. Bruno had a lot of power back then. Bruno could have made a difference. Is he culpable for what happened?
I'm still stuck on what you said about the drugs.
Well, on the steroids, when the steroids were first being used, they were legal within the United States. When the government got involved, they became illegal.
Right.
At some point,
this is
in
true.
that
and the government themselves were
timeline.
turning a blind eye until all of a sudden they weren't anymore. That's for sure.
But what I don't know, and I honestly I don't know, if it's maybe it's a difference between being legal and ethical, but for the doctor to dispense drugs without having a reason, like a medical reason to do it, to me is criminal.
Yeah, he was the kid.
Now, I don't know if it's against the law or if just ethically that's wrong.
Right.
But we're not talking about dispensing drugs to his patients, that were in his office and had a full examination, and he was able to look at x-rays, and he was just trying to be one of the boys and just passing. I mean, I used to watch him come into the locker room with a cardboard box filled with little white bags, and the boys would line up, and he would just, give them their goodie bag.
Any thoughts on the fact that Vince McMahon Sr., who is obviously, pretty much beloved from what I hear by most people, Vince McMahon Sr.'s champion in 1977 was Superstar Billy Graham. You're going to tell me, not meaning you, Gary, but you're going to tell me that he wasn't on roids? He's ripped. Look at him. Right. I mean, Vince McMahon Sr. obviously approved of Billy Graham being his champion. I didn't see Vince McMahon Sr. being, lambasted the way his son was years later for steroids.
I think it's one of these cases where it's really difficult to judge 1977
Okay.
with a 2022 mentality.
Sure, I got you.
Absolutely.
I got you.
And again, we can't lose the fact that when Superstar Graham was hitting the gas, they were legal drugs
Right.
in this country, right?
That is the truth.
Vince
Weird
McMahon,
as it
guy
may be.
wants to do something. There was really no background on steroids, whatever. So, again, there was a point where these were legal and then became illegal.
Sure.
But I want to still go back to the ring boy issue. Is there culpability on the wrestlers, right? Especially, that they said they knew what was going on and they put the blame on Vince for not doing anything about it. Isn't there ownership of the independent contractor / employee, however you want to present this, of protecting young children?
The short answer is yes. I do agree with you. And anything more that I say about it will be interpreted as making excuses for them.
Gotcha. Understood.
I can continue if you want me to.
No,
but-
I don't. We have a fan out there by the name of Phil. We nickname him Switzerland, so it's all good.
Oh, the Cesare shot across the bow.
Let me go down another road, Gary. Tony Atlas does a weekly show on the channel, the great Tony Atlas. What are your thoughts about Tony? And if you have any thoughts, this guy had everything. Why do you think Tony didn't become a bigger star than he was?
I think Tony was a huge star. I mean, he was huge in multiple major promotions.
Correct.
I mean, he was huge in Mid Atlantic as well as WWF.
Well, Gary, getting to the
he
core
was
of
a
it.
tag team champion.
Sure.
Yes.
But he always seemed to be like he should have been a world champion at some point. What do you think stopped him?
It was just the decision of the promoters. He had all the tools. He had the look. He had the skill. He had fan support. But I'll tell you the most important thing to me that tells me who Tony Atlas the man is. And I told him this the last time that I saw him. It was maybe 4 years ago at the New England Fan Convention. And that is his role the night that Bruiser Brody was killed in Puerto Rico. It was Tony Atlas, and only Tony Atlas, that attended to and cared for Bruiser Brody against all of the odds, against not caring or not even thinking about himself and his future work there in Puerto Rico. That shows me that he's a man that you can count on. He's a very moral, ethical guy. When it comes right down to it, when with things that are life and death important.
Right.
Tony's the guy.
Beautiful answer.
That's a great answer.
Nailed.
Great answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Gary, while we got you here, I know this is coming a little out of left field, but look, I grew up watching.
That's a surprise, right, Gary? Out of left field by the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
He's probably going to ask you if you like a peanut butter sandwich.
I am not going to ask you if you like that. So, how do you feel about Smucker's jelly, Gary? Any thoughts on Smucker's? No. Honestly, growing up watching you, announcing All-Star Wrestling. I mean, geez, we used to go to UHF and catch it on Channel 67 sometimes out here in Smithtown. What did you think about Rick McGraw? I know he left us at a young age, but was he possibly going to be headed for great things? Because I still remember when Arnold Skolin came out with a young, quick-draw Rick McGraw, and of course Skolin was usually the stepping stone. He was Bruno's manager. He was Bob Backlund's manager. Skolin comes out with Rick McGraw. Was there any rumblings in the back that Rick could really have a future? Because it was a shame he left us so young. I thought he was great. Any thoughts on Rick McGraw?
I'm gonna call you out on something there, Pharaoh.
No. Oh, what did I do?
Uh-oh.
Go ahead, Gary. He's Gary. I'm wrong. I'm
if
wrong
you're
before
gonna
it starts. Go ahead.
If you're going to be consistent, and you're going to have a problem with today's wrestlers,
Rick
because
McGraw was beefy. He wasn't 120 pounds like Hook. So no, that doesn't work, Gary. It doesn't. So give me something else. Come on, you can. I love him, but I'm not going to let him get me on that. That doesn't work. That doesn't
Wow,
work.
did I
Rick
push a
McGraw
button
compared to
or what?
Hook. Rick McGraw's forearm is bigger than Hook. What are you talking about? Honestly, and Rick McGraw's neck. Oh my God, Rick McGraw's neck. What are we talking here? I mean, any thoughts on the 220-pound legitimate Rick McGraw?
But if he's standing across the ring from any of the other wrestlers at the time,
too short.
He was a small guy.
He's too short.
I'm kind of going with Gary on this.
You know what? He
I
had
gotta
the
go
Jericho
with,
thing, right?
He's,
Vince
the guy's
wow.
was 5'0".
All right. So what was your thoughts, Gary, when he came out with Arnold Skaaland, though? I mean, he's out there with Arnold Skaaland.
I don't even remember him coming out with Arnold Skaaland.
This is great. I'm not the only one who remembers this. This is terrible. Oh, poor Rick
Hey, Gary,
McGraw.
Phil out there asked,
Oh,
did you ever meet announcer Joe McHugh? And if you did, can you tell that story?
Love Joe McHugh.
Just very briefly, people assume that, that we know each other.
Right.
Right. But there's only one ring announcer assigned for each event. So there's no reason for there to be two of us in the building at one time. Except one time when I was doing the weekly WWF TV show, and they thought that Joe McHugh wasn't going to be able to make it. Okay. So they asked me to come to do the TV on the Tuesday as well as the Wednesday. We used to tape every third Tuesday, every third Wednesday in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then in Hamburg. Right. And as it turns out, Joe showed up. So I didn't stay, but I did say hello, and it was just a quick, a quick hello, goodbye.
How was the hellos, though? Did you do your ring announcer thing like, I'm Gary, Michael, he's like, and I'm Jew. Is that how you guys said hello to each other? I'm sorry.
That's like
I'm just curious.
Michael Buffer just is doing a commercial, and that's the gimmick in the commercial. He's sitting at a table and he's ordering dinner in his ring announce voice.
Did you ever want to punch Joe McHugh in the face?
No, but I bet you wanted to punch Michael Buffer in the face.
No, why would I want to do that?
I don't know. You know what? I got this envision that, ring announcers kind of competitive against each other.
Are you guys competitive?
And you kind of just want to knock the guy off.
Business, it's like, piss off.
You have me hating. You have me wanting to punch people. It's like, I'm GMC. Come on.
The last time you're going to do this show.
Is it true you egged Vince's house last week? This is awful. This is really awful. Oh, but you know what? I got to throw this in. Gary, are you still smoking cigarettes? I'm just curious. I know you're coughing a lot like the Pharaoh. Are you still smoking? Because I am. Are you still smoking cigarettes, Gary?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I had to. Damn
so
it.
But not what you're smoking.
No.
What you're smoking is.
I smoke the funny stuff. Stay away from it, Gary.
So
yeah,
Gary,
I see that.
Gary, let's can we tell the fans out there what's your involvement in wrestling now? You have some events coming up. Can we talk to the fans about that?
Nice.
You know what? For the first time in my 47-year involvement in pro wrestling, I'm going to be managing.
What?
Wow.
Last time I was in Scranton to guest ring announce. And this little squirt of a manager, he started to insult me, and out of nowhere. So I told him that night in front of the crowd, I can't. And he has the tag team champions of it's Backbreakers promotion out of Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I told him I'm an old man. There's nothing I can do about this now. But with the permission of Backbreakers, I will return with a team, and they will kick your ass. They will take your belts. So I did find a team. I did get permission from Backbreakers, and I'll be returning to, it's actually Mayfield, Pennsylvania, on January 29th. But don't try to get tickets, because it's all sold out.
It's
Wow.
sold out already.
Look at that.
You. Look at you.
But you can watch it on a streaming service. I'm not sure which streaming service it is.
Is the team a mystery? Like you're going to come out and reveal them right there at the match, or is it...
It is a mystery because if I reveal now who my team is, the Diamond City War Machine, who are their tag champions, they're going to run up to the Music Mountains and they're going to hide until January 30th. So they're going to be pissing in their pants when they find out who I'm bringing in to. But I'll probably announce who the team is before the 29th, but not yet. I don't want to give them any opportunity to do any kind of hanky-panky back out of this, because we're going to kick their ass and we're going to take their titles.
Nice.
It's also smart, too. It gives them less
time
to prepare.
I want to remind everybody out there, Gary Michael Cappetta's book, former WWF and WCW announcer, Body Slam, Memoirs of a Wrestling Pitchman. How good is that book, Farrell?
It's freaking great.
Me and Farrell in the summertime, we go to the beach together, Gary, and we read books and drink some good fucking wine together.
Yes.
And Farrell was actually reading Body Slam's memoirs.
Are you picturing this? We're drinking wine on the beach, and I'm reading your book to him. This is
nice.
There's something wrong here.
There's
something a little strange about that. But
can you tell the fans where they can go ahead?
I have to mention a guest ring announce appearance that I have.
Yes.
It's in the Midwest.
Okay.
In Wisconsin.
Okay.
For Midwest Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
Jimmy Hart's going to be there. Greg Valentine's going to be there.
Great.
Bushwhacker Luke is going to be there.
Okay.
In I think it's Turtle Bay, Wisconsin. It's a casino hotel.
Nice.
So that's February 12th. I'll be doing guest ring announcing there.
Excellent.
Sounds to me like you still love the business more than ever. I mean, you're still out there doing things. So
people still want me to come out. So yeah,
of course they do.
Well, you're an icon. You're an icon. But So Gary, we're almost out of time. Farrow's going to hit you with something called the Farrow's final question. Again, this is a non-scripted question. I don't know what he's going to ask you. So back down the hatches.
Questions.
Yeah, you're right about that.
What did he say?
He said they're all non-scripted questions. He knows us by now. It's like, the script is just here for show.
No, we are scripted.
It's just here for show. I mean, what are you going to do?
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. And I'm not going to ask him what his favorite hot dog brand is, okay, before you start, with that direction. Gary, usually we go with a Mount Rushmore type question, but since I got you here, who is your version of the Mount Rushmore? Give me 4 of the greatest ring announcers ever, in your opinion.
That's tough.
Ring announcers?
Yeah, I'm going there.
Oh, my goodness.
To me, by the way, to our audience at home, this is the most all-around, most accomplished ring announcer in the history of this business, and I've said that before.
Oh, that's without a doubt.
Gary Michael Cappetta's got the best
without
resume,
a doubt.
I'm sorry. So you can put yourself on there, and I'm not going to hold it against you, but we need 4 of the best.
I'm thinking of 3. Jimmy Lennon Sr.
Nice.
The Olympic Auditorium in L.A.
Yes.
Friendly Bob Freed.
Okay.
Who, by a lot of standards, people would say, why, Gary? And the answer is because he was real, and you believed what he was saying. Howard Finkel.
Nice.
Would be my 3rd. And
Gary, I know you've told the story about you and Howard, but how was your relationship with Howard?
Oh, we had a terrific relationship. Now, it was different with Howard in that I would see him because he worked for the office outside of ring announcing. Mm-hmm. So he had other reasons to be, for instance, at a Meadowland show where I was doing the ring announcing, or up in Connecticut. So I would see Howard. The last time I saw Howard was at a convention in New Jersey, wrestling convention, and he asked if we could have our picture taken, and we did. And I'm thrilled that I had that opportunity to see him.
Gary, I got a last question. Of all the wrestlers that have passed away, which one hit you the hardest?
Wow. Well, Bruno. Just because he was my childhood hero. And a friend, as the years went on, he really broke whatever rule there might be about never make a friend of your hero because you'll always be disappointed. Whereas as a friend, Bruno exceeded whatever expectation I would have had, as just a genuine human being who cared about others.
Must be pretty mind-blowing to have a childhood hero turn out to be a good friend who exceeds your expectations. I can't even relate to this. That must have been pretty
amazing.
It must have been.
Without a doubt.
It must have been.
Well, Gary, I want to thank you again for joining the show. You've always been so kind to us, and no matter what, I will never hold it against you for being an AEW mark, man. I will never. I respect you way too much. Gary,
hey, look, either evolve or evaporate.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Gary Cappetta. Our honor. Have a great night.
But don't give up on your basic principles. I haven't given up on my basic principles for what I think makes a good wrestling show.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
Words of wisdom.
There has to be an adult in the room.
There you go.
This is true.
Yeah.
And that's me.
Yeah. And
it's
not
right.
us.
That's why it's definitely not us. That's for sure.
Okay, Gary, we're going to go to our room. We're going to go to our room without supper.
Good night, Gary.
But
Thank you.
Thank you for being on, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Wow, the great Gary Michael Cappetta, my friend.
Oh, man. He's just so
Dude,
great. It all starts with him. It starts with him when we were watching as kids, and it starts with him with the program.
Absolutely. And the guy is
so
nothing but a class act gentleman.
Listen,
with all due respect,
he is.
We hit him with some tough questions.
Oh, but he knew that. He's a pro.
But how well did he handle those questions?
Please, like butter. That man is smooth. Smooth. How come he's not in the Hall of Fame? What's wrong with the McMahons? Go ahead. Defend him on that one. He should be in.
Yesterday.
With Ivan Koloff. He should be announcing Ivan Koloff as they both go into the Hall of Fame.
It's indefensible that Gary Michael Cappetta is not. In fact, I think the only one in is Fink, right?
Fink is in as he should be, and
Joe McHugh should be in there.
Joe McHugh's not in.
Gary should be in there.
Gary should be in on roller skates.
Easy.
Come on, what are we talking here?
But I could talk to Gary for 5 hours straight.
He's the most accomplished ring announcer ever. I mean, do you really realize where he's been? He's been everywhere. He's been every freaking way.
And I love the fact that he loves wrestling.
Yeah, he does. You could tell he still does. He's still a student of the game.
And I think he I don't think you could tell he loves the art of wrestling.
Absolutely. What I've always appreciated the most about him is he was always gracious to us. You know, he could have. Look, very early on when we first got into this thing, one or two wrong vibes from these guys might have steered us a different way. He was one of the first people we came across, and he was nothing but class and very real. And I've always appreciated him. I think he's great.
Well, on a personal basis, I will always.
We should stop kissing his ass.
I would always.
Stop kissing his ass.
Always support Gary Michael.
Yeah, you're right. Kiss his ass.
I will kiss his ass. Anyway, we want to thank you guys for joining us. I want to remind everybody that we're back next week, and don't forget on January 30th. It's a Sunday.
Before we get to January, is there something tomorrow night that we might want to mention to the?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
The crowd.
Yep.
We had Flash Flanagan on for an interview, so that'll be on tomorrow. What time are you going to throw that up on?
That's
the air?
at 7:00. It's not live. We taped it before this show.
With Flash Flanagan, who worked obviously in WWE, was a big time legend over in Puerto Rico, and has a few things to say about a certain. What is it? Puts the lotion in the basket?
Absolutely. Had a lot of stuff to say about Hannibal.
Yeah,
so that's interesting.
In the basket.
The interview is kind of short, guys. I think it's about 30 minutes. He'll come back again. We were short on time. Yeah, we were under time constraints.
Yep.
And again, don't forget on January 30th, we've got Four Horsemen and Hall of Famer Barry Windham in studio, along with Doink the Clown.
Not Dink. Not Dink. I'm safe.
Dink, you're safe.
I'm safe.
And then on March 5th, we've got Dutch Mantel.
Right.
Which we're going to announce shortly.
So psyched
Man
about
Mountain
that.
Rock.
Okay. And?
Kevin Sullivan.
And?
Outback Jack.
Outback Jack.
Back to back to back
Wait
to
a
back.
minute, 4?
Maddie, I'm buying you dinner.
Matt.
Maddie's already locked in for
my
that
God.
day. There's nothing. Hey, Matty,
we're here all day.
Choice
I mean-
of hanging out with your girlfriend and hanging out with Monty Nefaro
Wait
and
a
four
minute.
wrestlers. What's your choice?
Wait, don't do that. Matt, go ahead. Tell the truth.
Yeah. Definitely with my girlfriend.
Well, I guess that's that. With that, we want to thank the great Gary Michael Cappetta. We want to thank everybody who comes out and supports this show. Thank you so very much. And we will see you next Thursday. We love you all. Pharaoh.
You've been watching Monty and the Pharaoh. And until next week, later.